Hey everyone, it's Paul. Last week we talked about the term muscular hope. Hope as practice, not just feeling. But here's what I didn't tell you. Even knowing this, even believing it, I'm still regularly torn between comfort and calling. And if you've ever felt that pull, that voice saying you should do something, but then found yourself making excuses, you're not alone. Today, I want to talk about why we fight the call to serve and ask, what does it take to finally answer it? Let me start with some numbers that might surprise you. Over 90% of Americans say they want to volunteer, but only 1 in 4, 25%, actually do. 9 out of 10 of us want to help, but 3/4 of us don't. And today, I want to look at what's happening in that gap. I've been there. For years, I was there, volunteering in fits and starts, afraid to commit, always finding reasons to step back when more comfortable activities, usually related to food or sleep, came along. Most of the time, I didn't even think twice about it until the next chance to volunteer. And then the weight of my entire history of volunteer fails, of all the things I meant to do, knew I should be doing, all the work that friends of mine encouraged me to do, to join them in doing, would come rushing back. Guilt, shame, always one to disappoint. But as much as I want to tell you how awful I am, here's what I've learned. This isn't a character flaw. There are deep psychological forces at work here, forces that make resistance feel rational, even protective. The first one is called the bystander effect. When other people are around, when we think someone else is handling it, we are less likely to help. You see this everywhere. Someone falls on the sidewalk, most people will hesitate before they offer help, assuming someone else will stop. I always talk about this when it comes to how most of us see homelessness in our neighborhoods. If we notice it all, our thoughts race to justify not taking any action. The police should be handling this, or some church or nonprofit should do it. Anyone but me. But here's the thing. Too often they don't. And they can't be everywhere at once. And that assumption that someone else is taking care of it, it stops us from responding to the needs right in front of us. Then there's what psychologists call evaluation apprehension, fear of being judged, fear of looking foolish, fear of making things worse. We're so risk averse, so worried about getting sued or offering unwanted help that we protect ourselves by not engaging at all. And underneath it all is this constant cost-benefit calculation. Will this disrupt my life? Do I have time for this? Am I really qualified? What if I fail to make a difference? And most of the time, comfort wins. My friend Steve had it figured out way before I did. In the mid-90s, I was doing video production in Minneapolis. Comfortable life, good money, just bought my first house. My friend Steve was diagnosed with cancer. He'd been given 6 months to live, and I offered up the spare bedroom in my house so he had somewhere to stay. And Steve was a force of nature. He was so joyful in his approach to life. He knew that service was the key to tamping down his ego, and he knew that his doctors were wrong. He was sure he could beat this cancer. He read every naturopathic article he could find. He researched how people with AIDS were treating their symptoms at home, and he bought a juicer. He brought home crates of fresh vegetables, and he convinced me to drink the juice with him. Apple, carrot, ginger, so much parsley. Beet juice with the greens and all. We hiked almost every day, all summer long, and when winter hit, we went to the gym. He also convinced me to host people at our house every Sunday to watch football. I hadn't watched football since I was a kid. And we started a nonprofit together. We called it Servants of Service, SOS. It was his idea. We gathered 100 of our friends to volunteer for other organizations. This was pre-internet times, so we had phone lists. We called people, we called our friends, they showed up, and they showed up because of Steve. This was my first real dive into volunteer work, and I learned to say yes, because Steve's commitment was infectious. But what happened to me is what often happens. A paying job came along, and I experienced what researchers call moral stress, anxiety about not fulfilling what felt like moral obligations. I knew I should be doing more, but I also knew it might cost me jobs. A pattern was established. Called to serve, then retreat when more comfortable tasks came along. Steve died in 2009, beating his doctor's estimates by 15 years, and he spent those years in service to others, building houses in Peru. Losing Steve was hard, but I learned so much from him, and I've used his life as an example ever since. After 9/11, I was restless again, working a job I knew was morally questionable, good for my ego and my wallet, bad for my soul. So I went to Bolivia. I told myself it was about understanding different cultures, but looking back, it was pure escapism. I wanted to get away from my own discomfort at home. In Bolivia, I witnessed hardships beyond anything I'd ever seen, but I also experienced the power of community to build resilience, and I learned about liberation theology. When I came back, I started volunteering at Central City Lutheran Mission in San Bernardino, 3 or 4 days a week, building relationships and feeling the satisfaction of direct service. Then another job came along. Good money, steady work, and once again, I told myself I'd come back after the project ended. But I didn't. I was following a national pattern. 35% of volunteers quit because of changing circumstances. But the research reveals what was a deeper level of my discomfort, and that is the spiritual tension of knowing I should help, but choosing comfort instead. Listen to the mental gymnastics. This project will advance my career. I'll make more money and be able to give more later. Someone else is probably better at this work anyway. Sound familiar? These are the stories we tell ourselves to avoid what our souls are asking of us. And here's the thing. When we walk past suffering, when we avoid opportunities to serve, we're forced to shut down the part of us that feels empathy. And that takes a toll. It takes a toll on our relationship with the world, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with what we know to be true. If you're struggling with this, if you feel torn between comfort and calling, you're in the majority. But if you've chosen to act despite your fears, welcome to what I know to be the best way to live. Engaged, challenged, sometimes overworked, but never despairing and never defeated. Next week, I'm going to share about the tools I use to overcome that inertia, to stay on the field, and how you can bridge that gap between intention and action. But for now, I want you to know this. That voice calling you to serve, that's not guilt, that's not obligation. That's your humanity trying to find its way home. And choosing to answer that call puts you in the company of a powerful few who have and will continue to change the world. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay involved, and remember, hope is a practice, not a feeling. I'll see you next week. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. You can also find us on Instagram and on our free Substack.